Okay, so anyway, again, things that you should be familiar with from last week are the different data types. Again, I'm not making you memorize the limits, but I do think you should memorize what they can be used for. You know, so it's just, you know, so you don't have to pause and look it up when you start writing your programs. You should know that. The other thing you should be familiar with is the my five required internal documentation items. Again, project, this, author, or I'm sorry, date, author, and purpose. And try and put them in that order so we have a class-wide convention as far as how we're doing stuff. Okay? So try and do them in the right order. What else do we need to look at? This week's chapter is pretty long, and it encompasses many things that we're going to want to use throughout the semester, okay? And I'm pretty strict about it, you know, on what you should use and when and stuff like that. So so far too, there's three different, I'm going to bring up just so you guys can have a list of these. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. There you go. And so I'll get a new blank workbook. So the three main structures in most programming languages are these, okay? The first one is sequential. And that's the one we're using right now. In other words, each line of code is executed in order without skipping any of them, okay? So that's sequential. And then in the next couple of weeks, we'll take a look at what's called selection, or some books call it decision. We'll work on that for a couple of weeks. That's your if statements and that, and there's several of those. And then the last one is repetition. Repetition. Jeez. And, I'm not going to be able to think. Oh, incrementation. Okay. No, that ain't right. Repetition anyway. So these are our loops. And there's a couple different types of those. Okay. So those are the three main structures, code structures that we're going to look at this semester. Again, sequential being the one that we're working on now. All right. This week, we're going to read chapter 2, elementary programming. And there's 3 programs. We might add a fourth on Wednesday. I might do one in class. That'll be worth like 5 points or something. And then I included this ethics of programming. And again, this is something you should strive for. We don't, you know, again, be honest, trustworthy, stuff like that. Okay? It's just a matter of basic, you know, normal human rules that you should follow. Not to be a slug or anything, you know.
Hey, I had a question about just kind of general coding. Like when we end with like a certain value or something, you always want us to label like our final value.
I don't know what you're saying.
So like for the speed one, like the assignment that we did this last week, would you want that last value to be labeled like miles per hour?
Or units.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some type of unit. I mean, it doesn't have to be miles per hour. I mean, in that one it does because that's what you convert to.
Yeah.
But in some of them, you know, you could put linear units, you could put cubic units. That way it doesn't really depend on if you're in the metric system or, so it makes it a little more user-friendly. If you know that your audience is always going to be in the United States, then you could probably use standard units of measurement, like feet and inches and stuff like that. But most calculations that we do, unless you're converting, could be used no matter what, whatever the units are. Okay. But yeah, it's a good thing to put, you know, this is what it is. If you just print it out, that's not user friendly. In other words, if I run a program and it has me type in the amounts, but it doesn't show that or anything, and then it just spits out some number, well, what is that number?
Yeah. Okay.
Is that its area? Is that its length? Is that its perimeter? Is that its weight? Okay. So making sure that your user knows what you're doing is kind of important.
All right. Thank you.
Trying to think what else. So we're going to cover a bunch of that stuff this week. Today, we're going to walk through another program. And then on Wednesday, like I said, we'll reinforce that by probably talking a little bit and then just going over it to enforce what everybody is supposed to know. Okay, 22 here now. Is Irwin here? I think that's the last name. He's breaking up.
Testing. Can you hear me at all?
Who is this?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Mr. Irwin, from now on, please, when you submit your stuff, don't zip them up in one big file, okay? They're supposed to be individually wrapped for me.
Oh, okay.
Not a biggie this week, all right?
Gotcha.
In reality, it's easier for me to download them, but then when I grade them one at a time by groups, you know, so I'll grade the word first and then the rectangle and that, and then you're breaking up, Sean. But I'm assuming you're saying, yes, Mr. Peterson, that would be great. So let's go ahead and open Java. And you guys should be seeing my screen now. And you can see the 3 different programs here. I'm going to let you do the first one on your own. Here's, again, things I warned you about in this, or that I'm going to warn you about in this program. If you misspell Celsius or Fahrenheit, you'll get points off. And I will bet you that somebody in this class will misspell Celsius and put 2 C's in it. Also, the program is not going to work if you use integer division. And I think I mentioned that to you. Because you're going to be multiplying or dividing, I'm sorry, 9 divided by 5 and then 5 divided by 9, one of the numbers has to have a floating point decimal. It has to be 0.0. If you don't, you're going to get integer division. And like I said the other day, 9 divided by 5 is like 1.8. But if you just do 9 divided by 5 with no decimal spot, you're going to get 1. And the difference between 1 and 1.8 when you're talking temperature is considerable. Okay? So don't make that mistake. I will tell you my check for when I check your programs on temperature. I type in if Celsius is a -40. Anybody know what Fahrenheit should be at -40? Or I'm sorry, what should Fahrenheit be if Celsius is at -40?
-40.
Yep, negative 40. They're both the same temperature at negative 40. Another way to check it would be what? If it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, what will it be Celsius?
0.
0. Same thing, 212 degrees Fahrenheit is what in Celsius?
100.
100, that's right. So if you you test those three and you don't get the right matches, there's something wrong with your math, okay? So make sure you do that. We're gonna do the cylinder in class today. And then you got cost of driving, which isn't too bad. How many miles are you gonna drive? Now, miles that you're gonna drive, what kind of data type would that be? Stephanie, what would it be? Hello?
Sure.
Huh?
I'm not sure. Maybe is it double?
Probably not. Most of the time when I say like if I was going to drive from here to Chillicothe, I'd probably just say, oh, that's 10 miles. I don't usually say it's 10.2. If you want to get that specific, then you would pick a double. Most people don't. How about miles per gallon? Joseph.
Sorry, I couldn't get myself to unmute. That one I might say double.
No,
maybe.
usually not. When people say, how many miles per
Or
gallon do your car get? Do you say, oh, I get 10.2 miles per gallon?
would it just be an
It's for a
integer
whole
then? Or
number.
inch?
Yeah, just an integer. How about price per gallon? Anybody?
Float or double?
Yeah, a float or a double. Doesn't really matter. Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
On that one, it doesn't. Float or double. They're both floating point. So again, I'm letting you use double, getting away with, but it surely could be held by a float. A float holds, what is it? 1 to the 30. I mean, it's a number with 38 decimal spots. And then a double has 308, I think it is. So either one of those would work for that.
So
Okay.
that differentiation only becomes important when you're dealing with very, very large decimals or numbers.
Okay, here's why, and that's true. The only other time it comes into play is sometimes when you use a library or a function that somebody else has written, they'll have their answer in double. So then the only thing you would have to do, and I'm going to show you how to do this probably Wednesday, is convert it back into a float if you're using a float. Okay, and I'll explain more about that then. But for the people that didn't understand or weren't able to say those right away, you need to study what data types are you going to use, okay? What data type am I going to use? So what I thought we'd do today, just it's a short program, that we go ahead and write the volume of the cylinder one in class, and then just probably add another one. We'll write another short one probably on Wednesday, okay? But this way you'll have one of your homework ones already done for the week, leaving you only 2 to do. So I wouldn't think anybody would have too much problem with that. So here is and again, as I'm working, if I go too fast, please let me know. Just say, hey, Doug, could you slow down? Or Doug, can you explain that? Or why did you do that? Or you've never shown us that before. Can you explain it? Okay. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to File. And I'm going to say New Project. And of course, it's Java with Ant on my computer. Java application. I'm going to click next. And I'm just going to call it my cylinder calculator. Notice again, I don't have any spaces in there. I just have my second word is a capital letter. So it's easy to read, okay? But I don't have any spaces. If you put spaces in, it's going to put periods or points in between your words in your program, okay? So I'd just as soon not have periods in my, or points or whatever. Okay. So it's nice and clean over here. If I look, I go down inside of my package is my file there. First thing I'm going to do is go up here and type these out. Program is the Acme. I like Acme, I'll tell you. Acme cylinder calculator. And this is going to be the cylinder calculator .java. Today's date is 8/24. Ah, gosh, I can't even type today. 2020. And then author, Peterson. Again, unless your name is D. Peterson, you put your name there. And then a program that the user enters the radius and length of a cylinder and the volume calculated. Okay, and I'm going to save. And then I'm going to clean up my, get rid of my Java docs stuff since we're not using it. And I'm going to put that so they line up. And then I'm going to get rid of this Java docs. And then I'm going to move this one down. And maybe even indent this a little farther so it's more recognizable as indented. So you guys seeing that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yep.
I think I'll do this. Get you used to dividing these. Once we get going, we'll divide more of them. When we have more than one procedure. Right now, all of our procedure, our only procedure we got going is inside of here. Inside the main. The main is a special type of procedure. And later on in the course, we'll have more procedures. Okay, it says here up here that the user is going to enter something. So what I need to do, again, that's my package declaration up there. I need to import a Java utility to get information from the user. And that, what happened there? My mouse fell off the, oops. All of a sudden my computer's going nuts here. There we go. No, that's not right. That's better.
Is there any specific reason why it's underlined in yellow?
Yeah, it hasn't been used yet.
Oh, okay.
See that? You put your mouse over it, and it tells you unused import.
Okay.
These are just warnings. It doesn't make it so my program won't run. It's a warning. If it's red, that means your program isn't going to run past it. Okay?
Mhm.
But that's a good point. There actually is it's two brackets there, not, so I just put a space in there. You don't have to. It's just the font I'm using. I want to make sure you guys know that it's two, not a square of some type. Okay, so there I get that. That's like the blueprint of what a scanner is. Now I have to create a scanner from that blueprint. So I just say scanner, and I'll call mine today. I think I'm going to say user in. Notice the in is capitalized, is assigned to a new scanner. And the scanner is going to get its information from system in, which is my keyboard. System out, of course, is your what?
Screen.
Yep, your screen, your monitor, whatever you want to call it. Now, whoever asked me before, notice the yellow's gone now up here. Because now I've created this, but now this is underlined and it says what?
Variable user in is not used.
Yeah, because I haven't used it yet, right? Okay, so there's that. And I'm trying to think what all I need. Oh, okay, so I need another thing here. I'm going to say final, which means what? Anybody?
Last. It's the last line of code.
A constant.
It's a constant. Whoever said that is correct. It is a constant. And I'm going to call it double. And I'm going to make it pi like that is equal to, and I can make it 3.14159 if I want. Okay. And again, just making it a capital doesn't mean anything. Without the word final, it's just any old variable. All right. So then I'm going to do this system dot out print line. And I'm going to say this is the Acme cylinder calculator. Something like that. That way, when it's ran, the user knows what they're getting. What is this program that I just ran? Okay, so they'll know. Just doesn't pop up and start asking them questions. Okay. So also, when we do programming, basically, we want it to be broken. Eventually, you're going to break it down into inputs, processes, and outputs, okay? So in this case, we could do something like this. We could say, okay, this is our inputs. Okay, so what are our inputs? Okay, the first input we need is our prompt. Let's see. How long is the radius? So that's a pretty good prompt. Notice I'm asking for the radius, not the diameter. That would be another way I could go if I wanted to. But then I'd have to do more math. So now I have to get that from the user, okay? To do that, I need a variable, first of all. So my radius, in this case, what data type do I want? Anyone? Give me a data type.
Hello?
Hello?
Would float work?
What? Which one did you say?
A float?
I don't know what that is. What data type are we going to use for our radius?
Double.
A double, right? Tell me why though.
Because you want the precision of a floating point.
Yeah. Normally, if I was measuring it in inches, I'd say 3.5 inches, or I could say 4 inches. If I'm dealing in feet, I could say 3.5 feet, 4 feet, you know, just depending. So I think double would be a good choice in this way. So double radius is equal to the name of our, so it's user in dot next double. So something like that.
So for like problems like this where you're trying to find something exact, do you want to have a data type that has more of a range so you can be more precise? Is
Yeah.
that the idea of
Sure.
it?
Yeah, but let's
Okay.
say, I mean, most of the time, if I asked you your age, what are you going to say?
18. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't use a double, would I?
Exactly.
Because that's such a small number.
Yeah, you're not going to say, yeah, I'm 18.5 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's a specific reason for something like that, you know. The other thing you can think about is precision. And
Mhm.
by that, I mean, like if we use double, it's precise to, about 15 decimal places.
Mhm.
If you use a float, I think it's about 8.
Okay.
Okay. So again, that makes a big difference. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're sending a rocket ship to Mars or something, you could miss the whole planet,
Yeah.
if you're not precise enough. So
like for these math related programs, most of the time you'd probably use double or float because there's a decimal in it
exactly.
instead of
Well,
using a
because
different one for a whole number.
well, again, because you have parts of something,
Yeah.
like time. If you had, 3:30 or something, you're going to want it at double. You don't want, unless you're good with it being at, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But I'll tell you what, if I'm working for somebody and I work till 4:30, I don't want to be paid till 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
And the boss probably doesn't want to pay me till 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So you need to know what your, again, what your data is, how
Okay.
precise you want your data to be.
Okay. Now I understand that a little bit more because I was a little confused on that.
Yeah, it's
I
just,
get it
it's a
now.
matter of precision, really.
Yeah.
Days are months. You're not gonna, it's gonna be an integer. You're not gonna get, oh yeah, I'm gonna do my months in double so that I can, it's 3.5 months or things like that. If I'm gonna do that, I'll probably go to an integer and do it in days. It's 180 days. Very seldom do I do, oh yeah, that's a half a year.
Okay.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand
Okay.
that a little bit more now.
So now that we got that, we need the length. Okay, so we're going to have another prompt here. Notice again, I use print. You can use, depending on where you want them to type the answer. Let's see. What is the length? Sounds good. Of the cylinder. I'm going to change my prompt on the other one too, because I don't like the way it sounds. How long is the radius? I'm just going to say, what is the radius of what? Of the cylinder. That reads a lot nicer. Okay. And we already got this up here. So then I can come down here and do, it's a double, and volume is equal to pi times the radius squared. Okay, so it'll be pi times, and again, I can use math.pow, and then radius, and then backspace 2. And then, so pi times the radius squared, and then times the length. Oops. Oh, I never got the length. Hello. Better go back up here and get it. When students, sometimes when they start doing this, they think they need more than one scanner, but you just keep using the same scanner over and over and over again. Okay, it's the same device over and over and over. So I think that's right. And again, that means the same thing as these two things mean the same thing, whichever one you want to use. And this math is just another utility up here, but it's already built into Java, so you don't have to declare it. It's used so much that they just put it in the program already. So you don't have to import it every time. Okay. Declare constant for pi. We got that. Okay. Let me look at something real quick here. Ugh. I got all my stuff stacked here next to my chair. I want to look at something for you guys. Bugging. See if they've got this fixed in here. So here's a question for everybody. What is a modulus?
It is
Remainder.
Yeah, the remainder of a division problem, right? Remainder of a division problem. So that's something you have to remember. I can't see it here. I put literals. If your program ever screams at you, if you're using something, a literal, I'm just going to show you here. It has nothing to do with our program. I just saw something though. If you put in something like 33.0, it's going to make that a double. If you want to make it a float, you can put an F after it or that. There's some of these in here that kind of explains them. Same thing with integers. Just so if it yells at you, that you didn't declare what it was, for example. Other stuff's in this chapter that I'm trying to convey to you. I'd like to tell you about. I thought it was in this chapter. Maybe it isn't until the next chapter. I was going to tell you how to get rid of all the decimal places real easily when you print stuff out. Oh, here's another one that you might not be aware of, or you might be. This, something like this, means add 1 to it. So it's the same thing as okay, things like that. So there's those, and then there's oh, what's another one? Oh, you can do sum, backspace. Minus means subtract 1. You can also do stuff like sum plus 1, like, oops, something like that, or count plus 1. Okay, is the same thing as doing count plus. It's also equal to count which one did I want? I can't think right now. But anyway, there's incrementation and decrementation, and those are shown in your book. Oh, I know what one was that I was going to show you. Count is plus equals 8, for example. Okay, it would mean add 8 to the count. So if the count originally was equal to 1, and you do count plus equals 8, okay, then count would be,
9.
yep. So it's just a shortcut. It's the same thing as saying count is assign the value count plus 8. Okay. And you can do that. Actually, you can do it with division, you can do it with multiplication or subtraction. Okay. So those are all described in your text in this next chapter, in chapter 2. So take a look at them. You'll get used to it. If nothing else, if you want to really understand it and you have to say count is equal to count plus 8, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have, you don't have to do count plus equals 8. They mean the same exact thing. There's not a problem at all. Okay. Line, print line. We talked about the difference between print line and print. The prompt is on the same line. Print line, you get that extra character return. Compute change. That's modulus. They show you how to use modulus in a program, and they don't show you how to get rid of the decimals in this chapter. So we'll hold off doing that until next chapter. Okay. All right. So we still got to print out our answer. So it'll be, oh, come on. La dee 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 dee. Notice I put a space in front of the C. So it'll have a space after the number.
Are you okay about that?
And let's take a look at this thing, see if it runs. What is the radius? If I put in 10. What is the length? I'll say 10. And I'm pretty sure that's right, because 3.14159 times 1,000, or let's say radius be 10 times 10, or did that be 20? 200
That
times
makes
3.
sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because we put it to the power, right?
Oh, right.
Which makes that 100, which makes it move
There you go.
3,000.
Yeah,
3 decimal places.
there you go. So that sounds pretty good. Okay. Sounds like it's working. So now I'm just going to clean it up at the end down here. Just put a, so the user knows that we're done. And, oops. And then I think down here, right after this brace down here, I'm just going to put save that. And it's looking pretty good. I didn't see anybody. I was downloading stuff, and so far I haven't seen where anybody's had any problems, but I'll do it one more time. So once I'm done with the program, have it saved, I can go ahead and, again, I'm saving. Somebody asked me, do you have to save to your desktop? Well, no. The only reason I save to here because it's quick for me when I'm lecturing. I'm going to left click on that, send to, compressed. So now I get the zippered one. If I go over here to my portfolios, pick my portfolio. Now again, some of you, I am just pick somebody out here. Eeny, meeny, miny. Mo. File exchange. Okay. And so I'm going to add a file here, and it would be cylinder. And I browse for it, finding the one that's zipped. There it is. I hit submit, and boom, there it is. Okay, and that one's done. And I move on to my next one. Okay.
Hey, I had a real quick question.
Okay, Ben, what?
Didn't we have a like a quiz about Blackboard that we were supposed to do this last
Yeah.
week? I didn't do it, and I can't find it now.
It's right in lesson 1 as you first go in. It's not
Okay.
under assignment. It's at the bottom of lesson 1.
All right. And
Uh-oh.
is that due today?
That was due at 9 o'clock this morning, yes.
Okay.
Now see this? I've got all these, so something's wrong. My best guess is you can see here that I forgot to put in, or the // disappeared. Once I fix that and save, those go away. If you have little red dots there, that means you got a problem, that something over here isn't right. And a lot of times what it is you'll have too many braces like that. Okay? So if you get an error, you got too many, or sometimes what'll happen is you won't have enough. Okay? When you were typing or something, you got rid of one of them, or you didn't put it in, especially when we get into like if statements and that, where they're all surrounded by braces like this. And when we do repetition, and now I can think of it, or iteration was the other word I was looking for before. When I wrote repetition down, I wanted to write iteration also. Iteration. Okay. So again, a small program that, and what's the difference between this program and then the ones we did in lesson 1? What about usability?
This one has inputs so people can insert their own numbers.
So it's more usable, right?
Yeah.
If I would have hard coded in a number for one of these, then it's less usable. The only literal, numeric literal that I have here is what I'm using for pi. Okay. Is the only numeric literal that I have today. So you guys comfortable with this?
Mm-hmm.
If you have questions, you need to ask. It's not like I can see all your faces or that, like I would in class. And if you were sitting there with this, uh-oh, I'm in trouble look on your face, you know, and it's more up to you now because I can't see all your faces.
I had a question regarding programmer etiquette.
Okay, go ahead.
So in most of the programming languages I've always used, we've always created the variables and put them at the very top of the program.
Yes.
Is that?
You can do that.
Program as you're writing
And many, not to cut you off, but yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. In fact, it's a lot. What he's saying here is I'm kind of taking a shortcut here. Okay. What he's talking about is if I did this. Okay. So I got my constant there, and I could come here and I could just say double radius, and maybe even set it to 0. And then I could say double length and make that 0. And then I could say double volume and set that to 0 right off the bat. Notice how now they're coming up red down here because I already declared them somewhere else. So I can't redeclare them in the middle of the program. So I just have to get rid of the double out in front of them because I've already determined the data type.
Right. Is there any preference as far as what you would like throughout the semester? Or
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter. Okay, perfect.
No.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Again, this is a good, especially when our programs get longer. Okay. What you need to realize here is I haven't taught you about scope yet. For people that haven't programmed before, Scope means where can these be used? There's 3 or 4 different places that variables can be placed depending on where they're going to be used in my program. Right now, we call these local variables right here and a local constant. They're only good from right here to right here. In other words, if I had another procedure down here, it would have no idea what these variables were. I could not use them down below. Okay. If I take them and move them out here, right here for say, then they would be seen by every procedure in my program. And in fact, I can put them outside that even, okay, into a special module out here, and they can be seen by every different class in my whole application. And then to get one smaller than this, if I have an if statement here or something, and I declare my variable inside that if statement, in other words, remember when I said sequential and repetition? If I put a variable in there, it can't even be seen out here. So depending on where I place these in my program will depend on where I can use them at. Okay,
So in that format,
any sense at all?
yeah, so in that format, the program would work exactly the same.
In this one here, that what works is that they can be used anywhere from here to here because that's the only module we have. The only procedure we have is right here. If I was to add another procedure like out here somewhere, and don't really want to show you this because then you'll say I showed it to you and that you can use it, but you can't. But I'll just.
Another thing, kind of unrelated to the program, but more about Blackboard housekeeping. You said there was another quiz coming.
Yeah, if I feel like you're not learning, like when I ask questions like, what data type is this? And that if I see students are not able or jumping in there to answer those questions right away, I might run a 10-point quiz or something. Again, I'm not a big quiz and test guy. Believe me, I got enough to grade with just grading your programs. If you take my 6 classes, and you guys have 3 things to do a week, my 120 students have like 6 things to do a week. And then I have an 8-week programming class. So they're doing twice as much as you are doing a week. So they're doing 6 programs a week. Now multiply that times 150 students.
Will that test be for everyone or just for the people who weren't paying attention?
We got to penalize everybody if somebody doesn't learn because they're your classmates and you want to make sure they're learning. Anyway, I put my inputs in up here. Let's see something real quick here. Okay, so then let's call this below here our process. And then down below that, we have our output. And in programming, we have something called IPO, inputs, processes, and outputs. Okay. And guess what? Sometimes we know kind of what the output is ahead of time, or we might know the process before we even know what the inputs are. Okay, like if I say, well, I need to calculate the tensile strength of steel on a McCluggage bridge. Well, I know what the output's going to be. I don't know technically what the number is going to be, but I know what I want. So now I know that I have to go get the inputs for that. Once I get the inputs, I need to know the math to calculate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's usually what it's broken down to. Sometimes you'll see IPOS, where they add together to save it. Okay. Inputs, process, outputs, and saving. But we don't worry about that. Any other questions?
No.
Again, if you don't know what a calculation you need to do so, you look it up on the internet. Like if I do this and I say, you know what? I'm going to run this program. And I'm going to put, somebody told me it has to be 7.5 here. And the length of the thing is 10.2 feet. Okay. So do I know it by looking at that? Do I know it's right or wrong? Probably not. So but I can do this. I can go over here, get out of my way, and do this. Oops. There you go, volume of a cylinder. And if I come over here, oh, get out of the way. And I type in the radius as 7.5. And then I type in the height or length at 10.2. I can see I come out at 1802.49. And if you look at ours over here, 18.48, but the next number is a 7. So it would in fact be 49. So that's how I would check to make sure before I turned it in, I would check to make sure that my answer is the same as theirs. If it isn't, my best guess is that my program's probably wrong. I mean, it could be that Google is, but I'm more of the persuasion that mine's probably I made a mistake somewhere. Okay. I don't even know how I did to move this. Go away, go up there. Oh, there it goes. So you should always check your programs, run it multiple times. It's kind of like when big corporations write programs, even Microsoft used to they have certain people around the US that they give their programs to ahead of time. It's called beta testing. And what you do is you sign up to be a beta tester, and then they give you free programs and stuff, and you run them, and then you report in any problems you have with the program. Okay. And that way they can test and see, is the program running correctly? Okay. Like I said, right now, if we beta tested ours and I came here and got little Johnny typing in the letter A here, well, I would report that, hey, if they type in the letter A here, we have a problem. Okay. Because there was an error in the program. Okay. And sometimes you can even tell what the error is. Okay. This one is a scanner error. Oh, right here. Input mismatch exception. So that means whatever you put in could not be taken in by the program using the scanner. Okay. Well, in reality, that's what I have for you today. I've looked through the chapter 2, and I think I pretty much number of quarters, nickels, dimes. We'll do that one later on. The one, there's a program in here on change. We'll do that a bit later. Again, remember the user-friendly and programmer-friendly rules. So even as you're going through the book, all through this chapter, they got A, B. I'm looking at a page, they got X, Y, Z, L, K, A, B, all on the same page. Oh, here's I, the letter I, letter D. We don't do that. We have our variables have names that mean something. Even if it's number or num or count, things like that. We don't put X, Y, Z, those types of things. Just checking one more time before I let you go here. Numeric literals, we talked about those last week. Again, numbers. Numeric literals are the ones you're going to do math with. Okay? Alphanumerics, we don't do math with. Okay. How about a char? What's a char? What data type is that? What would I put in a char?
Any single numeric or letter value, or
yeah, it doesn't matter, right? It would be any character, let's put it that way. It could be a punctuation, it could be a letter, it could be a number, whatever, and we call those chars. And when you declare a char, watch this on this, you guys are still sharing, right?
Mhm.
We use, if I was going to say char answer, and I could say is equal to, and it's going to be a single quote like that. Okay. Single quote versus a double quote. Okay. If you put double quotes, that's not a char. Single quotes for a char. Okay. And that'll come into play when we're doing loops, like continue running the program while the answer is equal to Y, for example. Okay. So that's a char. They have named constants. We did that. Variables. We looked at that. Oh, again, don't do this when we're talking about naming our variables up at the top. Do not do something like this. Double volume, comma, length, comma, radius. Don't do that. You can do it. It's legal. But at this stage in your programming, I would prefer that you do them individually, okay? So just do that favor for me and just
at
make
this
them.
stage, simpler is better, right?
At
this stage, simpler is better.
Yes.
It's the less complexity. You can see like logical lines that you took and go back and fix
Right.
if you need to.
Yeah, I don't want to give you the biggest shortcuts. Let's put it that way. Okay. I'd rather you understand it first and then later on I can show you shortcuts. And that's the whole chapter, guys, in reality. What we covered this morning is really all that's in this chapter. So you can almost scan this chapter, do your programs, and I think probably on Wednesday we'll take enough time to just write another program. I'll pick one. It'll be like a 5-point extra credit or something that we'll do together in class. Okay? That's what I have for you today. Unless you guys have something for me, you're free to go.
When we declare radius, length, volume, NetBeans says the assignment's not used, and it goes away when I don't declare that it equals to 0.
That's fine.
Okay,
Fine.
we don't have to declare that it equals to 0.
It just gives you a warning, right?
Yeah, just a warning. Doesn't really do anything.
You can get rid of the 0. It doesn't matter. Or you can leave it and just leave the warning there.
Okay.
They're just saying that you don't ever use it while it's 0. At other times, they'll say you have to. Later on, you'll get an error message that says, wait a minute, you did not initialize this originally. And you'll have to go back and put the 0 there. So just be aware of that later on. If you get an error message underneath your variable, after declaring it, and it says, uh-oh, you need to initialize this. Normally what you have to do is do what we just did, is move your variable outside of where you're doing it, declare it as 0 or -1 or whatever it needs to be, and then use it within inside what you're doing, okay? But NetBeans will warn you about that, so it's nothing you got to worry about day to day.
No, okay, thank you.
I just realized you're turning chihuahuas into muffins here.
It's adorable.
That's pretty scary is what it is.
That is pretty scary.
Anybody else with problems? I can
I have a
hang
question.
around if you guys are going to hang around, or I can get out of here and you can get out of here.
How exactly do you get the output screen, like at the bottom of the page?
Usually, if you've ran the program, it'll just say down there, you'll see a little thing that says output. If you accidentally closed it, or you run your program and it pops up.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're welcome.
Just showing off my voice changer.
Oh, that's nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm going to tell your mom that we think there's somebody under your bed, too.
Really? There could be someone under my bed.
He didn't make his bed. There's all kinds of junk on it.
What's this one? That's a little... It's the same thing.
Voice changer, great. I did tell you about the guy that wore the...
Yeah, it's a free voice changer.
Oh, that's nice. We had the Star Wars. He wore a Star Wars mask the last 3 classes last semester when we went online.
I could be the one that uses the voice changer.
That's... Oh, why me, Lord?
This is a... Oh my God, that sounds so bad.
That's so bad. That one don't work, Ashley.
That one just does that.
Yeah.
It just does growling. It's called Gorilla.
Mm.
Although I could pay $12 to
get more.
all the features.
Don't. Don't.
I'm not going to do it for this one, but there's a different voice changer that I will probably buy.
I'm still dealing with getting my background like this. Usually I disappear. Like if I select one of these.
Yeah, it works better if you have
a green screen.
A green screen behind you. I need
this one I guess isn't too bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Not that bad. This one's kind of all right. They must have improved because the other day, well, this one I got kind of a halo. That's kind of spooky. This one's better.
I haven't downloaded that package yet.
I should have a Corona or something while I'm doing this one.
I went to tested for Corona the other day. Luckily, I'm Corona negative.
Somebody had a question on a quiz?
Yeah, I was in that meeting for the first part, and I think I missed it. Am I still allowed to take that quiz for lesson 1 at the very bottom?
Yeah, you have to take that quiz.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just making sure.
And you just keep taking it until it shows 11 out of 11, okay?
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
I showed up at like 1:03. Did I miss attendance?
No, I didn't take attendance.
Okay.
Now that you've talked, you're on my recording anyway. I am going to stop recording right now since I just filmed myself playing with the background.